Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among.
Once its sights are set, nothing can stop the ferocious lion from capturing its prey. Relying on keen senses, lions search patiently before striking with alarming speed. Wait for it. Gotcha, Mr. Piece of Rubbish. He is truly the master of his environment. Do good, be a lion.
Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the sunflower state of Kansas. And under a sunny Kansas sky, we are for the second race of the Contender 12, a part of the 2015 Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series, presented by Garry Mercer Trucking's Chase for the Full Throttle Cup, live tonight on LSRTV and on iRacing Live. We welcome you inside the Inside Sim Racing Broadcast Tower as we embark on 188 miles, start to finish tonight, with the possibility of sparing just one more chase driver's soul from the horrors of Talladega that will wait next Monday night if they do so win to advance to the Eliminator 8. That, one of the many talking points we'll get to tonight as we get set for this second race in the Contender 12 round for the Kansas 188. We do welcome you again inside the Inside Sim Racing TV Broadcast Tower, alongside myself, Evan Pasoko, joined by Andy Kessler, as well Brian Macklin up in the booth, five-time RSR winner, serving as our driver analyst. Pit lane going to be covered this evening by Cisco Scaramuza, and our in-race reporter will be on board and talking with EJ O'Rourke as tonight's race goes on. Coverage top to bottom. And guys, first off, welcome to Kansas. It's a day race, Andy, and we don't normally see a lot of day races, but when we do, they're exciting. We come out of Concord, North Carolina from Charlotte. We got a race under our belt, and much like we did in the first three races of this chase, we go to the next two. However, today is different, not because we're at Kansas. We'll talk about why Kansas is different in a moment, but today is different because Talladega is next week. Now, it's very easy to blow things out of proportion, and, you know, we just beat a dead horse and talk about Talladega all night, but it is that big of a factor that out of Talladega, 4 drivers go home.
Yeah, Evan, 4 drivers, and all 12 of these guys that are in this contender round. Well, I'll say 11 since Daro had a great win last week at Charlotte. 11 guys have a legitimate chance to get into the next round, into the Eliminator 8. But 4 of them have to go home. And the problem that lurks is that this track right here, you got 11 guys that want to get that win tonight, so they can not hold their breath next week, because Talladega is, anything can happen. We've seen plenty of races there, Evan, and Talladega, one mistake by somebody could cost you the whole race, and these guys don't want to. They don't want Talladega to be the reason that they're not going to move on in this chase.
Right now, the drivers on the track working through a 15-minute open qualifying session to set the grid for tonight's race. But as they enter tonight, let's take a look at how they do so. This is your updated RSR Full Throttle Cup Series chase grid through one race of 3 in the Contender 12 round. You see Silver, Hemstreet, Cohen, and Mercer, the 4 drivers that did not make it through at the Challenger 16. Here's where we sit, though. Anthony Daro, winner 1 week ago at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. He is good tonight and next week, although he'll be out there, although he wants to win. He'll be not only trying to get the checkered flag for himself, but maybe trying to help out his fellow teammates to advance. The gaps behind, nobody else safe. Just 10 points at the most above the cut line for Thomas J. George, and just 12 points the most below the cut line for Jonathan Cadell. Bryant, I'll turn to you as a driver. Out of the first race of this chase with 16 guys, the intervals were much larger. After 3 races, the highest guys in on points were clear by 30 some odd. The bottom guys were out by 40 some odd points. This is still very, very tight through only one race.
Yeah, and I think it's going to remain that way. And then, of course, with Talladega looming next week, you really can't count on having a big points lead over somebody and guarantee that's going to make it in. You can lose or gain so many positions at the Talladega Superspeedway that a 15-point gap over the guy that's in 9th in points is not going to be enough. 15 points is 15 positions on track, and if they have a 35-car field, you could easily lose 15 points in a matter of laps or even in a matter of seconds. So I don't think any of these drivers are going to be thinking about points tonight. Those 11 drivers that still need a win to guarantee themselves a spot into the Eliminator 8 are going to be doing everything they can to try to get to victory lane tonight. I don't think you're going to see any points racing out of these guys tonight. You're going to see them all going as hard as they can, taking chances, maybe taking a few late race gambles to try to get to the track position and go after the race win.
Let's take a look at some track facts about this Kansas Speedway located in Kansas City, Kansas. A capacity crowd of about 72,000 race fans can pack in here. This racetrack, though, opened just 14 years ago in 2001, so it's one of the newer tracks on the Sprint Cup Series schedule. Hosted, obviously, NASCAR Sprint Cup Series action, Xfinity Series Camping World Trucks, as well as ARCA. The track itself, though, it's a tri-oval, 1.5 miles in length, 4 turns, progressive banking at 17 to 20 degrees, Andy. That means that the regular concept of the shortest way around the track being the best way around the track, not that true tonight. The top lane is going to be a major factor in who wins this race. That's the place to be on a run.
Yeah, you're going to see it, especially on restarts, though. You're going to see some guys utilizing the bottom line to make some passes early in a run. But as these tires wear on, Evan, the top side is the place to be. It's where all the speed comes from. But the problem with that, too, though, is that you're on such a fine line up on that wall, way up high, lap after lap after lap. The concentration factor for these drivers comes in even more at a track like this and at a place like where you have to run at the top like that. One little slip up into that wall, misjudging your entry into the corner or even on your exit, and that could cost you a lot as far as speed and as far as damage on your race car.
So as well with the general strategy getting around the racetrack here, tonight's strategy on the pit lane always seems to have a determining factor in these races, whether it be guys coming down taking just 2-4 tires, staying out, as well as fuel mileage to the end. And for that, we throw things down to the pit lane with Cisco. Cisco, what are we going to be looking at for these guys in the pit lane tonight in order to win this race?
Tonight you're going to be looking for, king tonight's going to be tires. We saw it, I was talking to Corbin Hemstreet down the Boomtown pit. He was saying that Anthony Daro, actually, the 9 car, he's sitting second on the board. He's looking for a little bit more, despite the fact he's pretty much tied for the pole right now. He's still looking for a little bit more. Mitch Rollo was pretty happy with his car, but the main thing they got to watch out tonight, from what I've heard on the driver's side, has been tires, because unless you're on that top lane, the moment you drop down to that bottom lane, it just kills the tires here. So you got to be really careful and make sure you don't burn up those tires early during the race.
A very fun part about these open qualifier sessions is it's not out there, you put 2 laps down and that's it. A lot of these guys, 10 plus laps in, hot laps on time right now. On our numbers to the 1,000th of a second, it is Brundys and Daro tied at a 29.733. That means that tiebreaker right now goes to the favor of the 94 via a 1/10,000th of a second differential. You think that it's tight in qualifying, you're just going to have to wait until this translates over to tonight's 125 lap affair. As we said, Anthony Daro won 1 week ago at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Thomas J. George came second to him. Vincent, Comstock, Rollo, Ward, Hurlow, Simley, Rivera, and Murray. 8 of those names there, guys that are competing in the chase, and outside of Daro, 7 of them, a strong finish at Charlotte would not mean much with a poor finish here at Kansas. The qualifying is still up for hands, but as we close in on the final minutes, we get set to go chase racing from Kansas, and with that, we throw things down trackside now for our opening ceremonies and a singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Back live as the qualifying speeds have come to a close here tonight. You see the final times going up on the board. The clock about to strike 0. Red and black flags have been displayed. Just 3 more seconds for anybody still out there to complete a lap, and that does it. We get set to get this race now underway. Well, we said it was still up for grabs at the top spot, and indeed, that will ring true. As we take a look at the starting grid for this evening's race, a big thanks to Jaden Berkey for performing tonight's national anthem, and as well a big shout out to the virtual Thunderbirds for the national anthem flyover there as well. So your pole position tonight, that 9 of Anthony Daro, well, he was off by 1/10,000th. He'll get it by 1/100th with a 29.723. The number 9 machine will launch himself to the top spot, fastest in practice. He'll lead us to the green flag is Anthony Daro, winner from 1 week ago, trying to not invite anybody else through Talladega easily. We'll look for a second back-to-back win here tonight. He's got a great place to do so. Eric Brundys, though, series champion, starting alongside in second position. That'll put him on the outside of the front row. Mitch Rollo slated to start in third. That's the number 96 machine. Dan Murray back in fourth in the 5. And Christopher Hurlow's number 87 car rounds out our top 5.
Yeah, and rolling off 6 tonight in the 89, that's Jeff Ward. Greg Evans will start to the inside of row number 4 in the 23. David Comstock in the 14 machine is going to roll off 8th, 9th to EJ O'Rourke. And the 13 of Dwayne Vincent will start 10th.
Starting in the 11th position, the number 2 of Rhett McBride. 2 is outside in row number 6. That's Matt Lacrosse driving the number 21. He's starting 12th. Thomas George, he was the bridesmaid last week at Charlotte. He finished 2nd. He's looking to get a little bit better. He's wanting to win this race tonight. He's starting 13th. Jonathan Cadell is starting 14th. And the meatball machine, Jose Gonzalez, is starting 15th.
16th position tonight to the 91, that is Steve Gottschalk. Chad Cole will find himself 1 spot back on the inside of row number 9. That's 17th spot for the driver of the 8 car. Jake Higgins on the outside. The 49 will roll from 18th. 19th is Scott Simley, and Scott Stenzel in 20th.
The 34 is Sean Bound. He's going to roll off 21st. Eric Arnold in the 31 will start 22nd. 23rd goes to Nelson Rivera in the 7. The 43 of Doug Roth will start 24th. Nick Silver in the 25 will start 25th.
And then you got 26th spot, Joe Dinsmore throughout the rest of the drivers in 31st. That qualifying on Tanya, Sean Casto, Joseph LaPlaca, Jimmy North, Brendan Mercer, Paul Fugate. Drivers in on provisionals tonight could be Ben Burnett, Rich Jett, Tom Dryerling, Douglas Wyatt, and Ryan Vaughn. 36 drivers on that entry list slated to take the green flag here tonight. We're glad to have you with us on LSRTV through iRacing Live as we get set for the Kansas 188. One more shot at it if you want to get to the Eliminator 8 and not have to rely on the high banks of Talladega to determine your fate in 1 week's time. The American Childhood Cancer Organization Ford Mustang GT pace car makes the dive to the pit lane. 9's in control. He's not waiting around. Green flag flies. We are underway from Kansas down to turn number 1. Daro, no problem with the lead, and those Boomtown Sim machines obviously on point with the coordination. They go 1-2 into turns 1 and 2, both from that inside, and other teammate Hurlow. So all 3 of those guys up the bottom, very well coordinated to go to the top 3 just like that.
Yeah, the loser on that restart right there was the 94 of Aaron Grundy. He's going to lose right there. He's able to get back in line in that 4th spot now. Already working their way to that top side right now, single file all the way through the top 10.
A little bit of side-by-side first fight you'll see with that. The 13 of Dwayne Vincent in that conversation. He's in 10th position and already going up to the top side of the racetrack. Brian, one thing we talked about earlier is that bottom, not the place to be, although it is the shortest place around the racetrack. So what that means is you might get able to do that on the restart, take the shortest way around getting up the speed, but pretty soon you want to get up to the top side. That's exactly what we're seeing. The number 62, EJ O'Rourke, stuck down on the bottom after starting in 9th, and outside of him you got the 2, the 11, and the 1, so it doesn't look like it'll be easy for him to find a spot up there.
Yeah, right now he's really struggling to get in line. He's gotten down on that bottom of the racetrack. He made a move on the initial start trying to go and gain a couple of positions, and unfortunately for him, he was not able to get clear to the outside line, and now he just continues to drop back, as you talked about. Here at this racetrack, for whatever reason, the high line is the basically dominant groove. If you come off that outside line, you're not going to be competitive, and you're seeing that right now. Like you said, he started in the 9th position, and as he crosses the stripe just 4 laps in, he's already dropped back to 14th. He finally did get in line behind Thomas George, but he's going to have a lot of work to do if he's going to get back up towards the front.
Yeah, it looks like 14th is where he's going to stop the bleeding. He'll jump up in front of Steve Gottschalk. Gottschalk up 1 spot to 15th after starting in 16th. And through all of that, not only does he lose positions, he loses time. That's almost 3.5 seconds back for the race leader at a span of 4 laps just from getting stuck on the inside of the racetrack. The top 3, top 2 putting on a clinic at the moment. Daro started from first. That's where he sits. Mitch Rollo followed up from the inside of row 2 to get the second. And it was Herlo from the inside of row 3 to get the third. We have seen this team do this many a time this season, coordinate those restarts with the advantage of being a control car. They're 1, 2, 3 right now. They have quite a gap. Your top 2 sit 2/10 away. Herlo not quite as safe. He's got a series champion of Eric Brundy's on the back bumper. Number 94 fell back 2 spots after he had stuck up on the outside there in second. He doesn't want to let that 87 get away. That's a close fight down to turns number 1 and 2. Closest one at the fact inside the top 10.
Yeah, it is the closest fight right now. Is we're going to look at a replay of the 23 car. It just had a close call there moments ago, just about a lap or so ago. Getting real loose there and able to save it. But you talk about this high side, because everybody wants to run that high side, Evan, with all that speed that's up there because of that progressive banking. What that leaves is a tough place to pass, and you almost have to wait for that guy in front of you to really make a mistake in order to get a decent run on him and be able to make a clear pass off of the corner before you get down into that next corner, because if they're able to maintain that high side, it's going to be tough to get around them once you get back into that next corner. So that's why we're seeing a lot of guys right now running that high side, just kind of content and running right behind these guys. Not much action happening early on here in the top 5. Most of these guys just trying to log some laps.
The most time we'll see side by side really down the front straightaway, Brian. Some guys thinking they want to go all the way down to the grass. Some other drivers just taking it all the way to the white line before they blend back up top side. Being on the top of the racetrack not only is a different line, but again, it has its risks. You have a bobble and catch the fence because the fence is right there. We were talking about the 23. Matt Lacrosse had a very similar incident a couple of laps ago. He just clipped it with the right rear, no damage. He doesn't lose his spot, but I mean, you're up there against the fence. It doesn't matter how good you are for 188 laps. If one of them is a mistake, you're in the fence just like that.
Yeah, it's really tight, and the issue there is if you're following closely behind somebody and they hit the wall, you have to be able to react to get around them, and if you're right on their back bumper when they hit the wall, it's going to be next to impossible to avoid them. As right now we're actually seeing Dan Murray in the 5 machine. He got up against the wall. Jeff Ward was right behind him. Fortunately, he had enough of a gap between them to where he didn't have to run into him. But if you hit that wall hard enough and you slow your car down, the guys behind you are going to have to react, and that can create a very chaotic moment and could create a pretty big wreck depending on how many cars are right there behind that guy when it happens. I've seen it a lot when racing here and when watching races here. It's something you're going to see quite a bit tonight.
Well, Matt Lacrosse has now visited both ends of that spectrum. He's been in the fence, and now he's taken advantage of a car in the wall. The 2 are at McBride, exactly as you were talking about that, Brian. 2 caught the fence, the 21 very quickly had to react to get to the bottom, get through and get clear because that was on corner exit. You can't just turn the wheel more and get around him. That's why you're up against the fence, because that's the only way the race car relatively is going to cooperate with you at all. Nothing stems from that besides the fact that that number 2 machine over at McBride, he drops back to 11th, which is exactly where he started this race. He had at that time gained a couple of spots. DeBarro still your race leader, now 11 laps in, the gap 0.6 of a second, starting to stretch out, and now Matt Lacrosse catches the fence again. So the 21 and the 2 both struggling. The 11, Jonathan Cannell, a little bit of good news, a little bit of bad news. Good news is he can catch them. Bad news is if they have some more problems and he's coming up on them, there's nowhere for him to go, and right there again into the wall goes the 21. McBride's got to get on the brakes. That checks up Cannell and Thomas J. George, 2 of our chase guys trying to find a way through.
Yeah, trying to find a way through, but you can see right there as you're watching, he gets in the wall, slows them down, the guys behind him check up. The problem is they can't just get down underneath them and make the pass. There just isn't that much speed there on the bottom, so that's what makes this place such a difficult place to pass. As we see the 11 car now trying to look on the high side over the 2 of McBride. Not going to happen this time by, but you can see everybody behind these guys, including the 91 of Steve Gottschalk, the 50 or 62 of EJ Rourke. All these guys now have all come into the picture now. We got a pretty good battle for that 10th spot.
And you take a look at that fight, a big single file freight train, and a whole lot of them as they go through 3 and 4. 35 of the drivers started this race. The only driver to not take the grid that was scheduled to was Ryan Vaughn. And out of the 35 that have started, 34 are still on the lead lap. It looks like Douglas Wyatt has come down to the pit lane. He's out of the car. His night may be done a little bit early in this event as we continue to ride on board with some of these guys. You take a look at just how close they are up against that fence. That's not a whole lot of spacing, especially when you talk about their single file right now. Brian, it doesn't look like a battle. You know, you look at these guys, they're single file, it looks like they're single file. They're not fighting. That's as big as a fight as you can get unless you're, you know, trying to wreck yourself off of a restart, because it is extremely difficult to pass somebody, being that the preferred way around somebody is to the top side, and you're not going to fit a car in the 1 or 2 feet that's in between the passenger side door of that guy in front of you on the outside wall.
Yeah, honestly, here at Kansas, with the groove that we have to run, you're racing the racetrack more than you're racing the cars around you. You treat this place a lot like you would Darlington. And right now, David Comstock just made a power move. He passed Jeff Ward and Dan Murray in one corner back in 3 and 4 this last time by. A very big move, moves him up from 7th to 5th. But back to what I was saying, this track is so difficult to run. You're running inches off the wall. If you come down off of that lane at all, it can get the car very upset and cause you to spin out. So you really just have to race the racetrack and wait for the guys around you to make mistakes, and then you pounce and make the move you need to make to get around them. You can't really battle with the guy in front of you and try to get side by side like you could at some other tracks, like we saw last week at Charlotte, like we're going to see it in a few weeks when they go to Texas and whatnot. This is just a race within a race. You're racing yourself and you're racing the track.
Andy, I know we were talking about it a little bit earlier. As you take a look at a replay, David Comstock, one of the drivers who's having a little bit of an excitement. We talked about that the inside, it's not the place to be, and the longer you're on the inside, the longer it hurts your tires. Well, EJ O'Rourke, again, we talked about the number 62 machine. He got stuck down low early. He got back up in line, but that did not stop the bleeding. He's in the fence again, that time in 3 and 4, and in the fence right in front of Jose Gonzalez and Eric Arnold. That's back in 17th spot, though. So even up top, he's getting passed by guys on the bottom. That car is definitely not a top 10 car, as where it was all practice long and through qualifying. Somewhere that speed has gone away.
Yeah, and some of that might be contribute to the damage he's got on the right side of that machine right now, as he's really having some trouble right there. We just saw it right there off of turn number 2 again. Coming real close, if not hitting that wall right there, making the 26 of Jose Gonzalez. Really have to be patient at where he picks his spots, if he can get around him or not right now. But the 62 EJ O'Rourke definitely having some issues here. Some of that speed's gone, and it could be some of that damage. So I'm sure he's hanging on, waiting for that first round of pit stops.
A lot of guys trying to navigate a way around to the bottom, and around the number 23 of Greg Evans goes Matt Lacrosse. The 11 of Jonathan Cannell going to go through as well. And
trouble.
With that
62
caution,
is around. 62 and EJ O'Rourke on the backstretch. He gets into some damage with Jose Gonzalez in the 26. Looks like he hit the wall, Evan.
now.
Looks like he hit the wall, Evan, off of turn number 2, and a bunch of other guys now piling in there. The 29 cars involved, and so is the 84.
The caution flag had been out, and the 84 of Jimmy North trying to go high to get around him, and as he does so, the guys behind him not slowing down. Jimmy goes up the racetrack, and the 79 of Joseph LaPlaca gets into him. That's the secondary part of this incident, we'll call it. You'll take a look at what happened initially, and we were just talking, Brian, about EJ O'Rourke, about where that handling had gone on the race car. Caught the fence at a turn 2. The 26 got into the back of him. Jose tried to pass low, and the 62 kind of ended up as a pinball between the passenger side of the 26 and the outside wall. That is what will lead to the first caution flag on the evening. With that, pit stop is going to be in full cycle. Cisco, we go to you as Daro leads him down.
Yeah, Anthony DeMaro going to lead him down. From what I've heard, they're going to be thinking about doing 4 tires, maybe. There's still a little confusion, so I guess we'll find out here. But talking to Eric Brundy's spotter up there, Dave Washington, tonight, I was talking to him. Brundy's is saying he has a pretty good long run cars. It looks like they're going to put 4 now on all the Boomtown and Brundy's and all of our leaders here, so they're going to take 4. But Brundy's looking to have a good long run car. He's pretty happy right now, and he comes off second actually. DeBarro going to lead it. Looks like Mitch Rollo though got a speeding penalty. He's going to have to
And Daro, guys, using every single inch of an advantage that he gains from having that #1 pit stall. He does so in order to beat Eric Brundy's off at the pit lane. You see Rich Jet come out in front of both of these guys, but I believe that number 36 Chevrolet just drove through the pit lane on the right side all the way around. I don't think he comes down to the pit lane, so a lot of the time you'd see somebody do that to try to get a bonus point. However, Paul Fugate already taken that. The Lions Club International Chevrolet stays out. He'll come down pit road this time by. That will give a bonus point to Rich Jet, who enters tonight 3 points behind the cut line in the Contender 12 round for the chase for the Full Throttle Cup. So, you know, back in the pack early in the race, get a bonus point and go back at it in attack. He'll be back in traffic, but this is not the first time we've seen Rich Jet do this. I can guarantee you it won't be the last as this chase continues.
Yeah, these guys are fighting and scrapping for every single point. We talked about it in the pre-race show where it's just 12 points separate everybody, and it's just there's so much on the line here. To be frank about it, to make it in on just sheer points, you got to really drive this thing. And tonight's going to be a big example of that. He's not the first one. He's not the first one we've seen that's going to take this gamble to take that extra point and to get that extra bonus point. A bunch of people are going to be doing that here tonight, trying to just solidify that if they can't get the win here tonight, they can at least get some more points, some extra points, to maybe help them after next week.
And we heard from there on the pit lane, it is going to be a speed'em penalty assessed to Mitch Rollo. You'll take a look at the 96 Boomtown Sim Chevrolet. Third spot, second spot at the time. He's going to find himself way back in 28th position. So he'll end up where Rich Jet will as the 36 comes down to the pit lane. However, you're not going to have the luxury of staying out, taking a bonus point, and doing it willfully. There is still a long way to go in tonight's race. Restart going to be just shy of 100 laps to go, but still, it's a pretty tough call to get all the way back up to the field. Rollo, who again came in here with 8 points. Mistakes were a big talking point as well, and an opening Challenger 16 round as far as trying to limit said mistakes. And really, it wasn't a determining factor as far as who was just outright faster than everybody else. Our 3 winners, yes, they were the best cars. The guys that were 30-some-odd points way ahead, yes, they were much quicker. But Brian, as a driver, it's small mistakes like that. Luckily, if anything, that it comes on lap 22 instead of 122, but those are the things that if you're a bubble driver can kill you.
Yeah, I mean, he's only got an 8-point gap from the 9th place driver going into this race, so he can't really afford a mistake like this. He really needs to get back up there and try to contend for the win, especially with next week being Talladega. They can't rely on pure speed like they have here on the 1.5-mile tracks and at the other tracks. At Talladega, you're going to have all 35 drivers with a shot to win, and when something goes wrong, you can't hide, you can't run away from it. So this is a mistake that could not only cost him a good finish tonight, but it could cost him moving on to the next round.
Well, Anthony Daro wants to once again run away for the field. The pace car gets down and out of the way. It'll be 102 laps to go this time by. Green flag flies and back and away we go. No surprise that the 9 and the 87 team cars on the inside, they absolutely take off, and it puts for the second time Eric Brundy's at such a disadvantage. The 94 going to be in at least 4th, maybe 5th. In 1 and 2, it's the 13 of Dwayne Vincent trying down low, slides up and shuts the door. What a move by the Havoline Ford.
Yeah, I know he didn't have much room right there, but it looked like he just pushed right up in front of Brundy's. Brundy's had to make an abrasive checkup right there, and also the 89 that Jeff Ward had to watch out there too. So very aggressive move, but that's what we were talking about earlier. Having these guys now's the chance that they can. If they're stuck on the bottom, they can really hold it wide open through 1 and 2 on the restart. They can get a couple positions, and then they have to work their way up to the top, and that's exactly what we saw Dwayne Vincent do right there.
And Daro brought a teammate with him, but he really wasn't sticking around for him that much. The gap already half a second. Comstock is thirsty, though. The Monster Energy Chevrolet started 8th in this race. Gets 30, 87 to the fence. Not enough time, though, to get cleanly down to the bottom. Those two drivers make contact. Vincent maybe was thinking about trying to split them. He won't be able to do so as Comstock slides back up door to door, and now using the bottom to slide up and through and clear. David Comstock will take over second, not before getting a little bit of front end damage, and the 87 drops back to third, not before getting a little bit of rear end damage after that altercation.
Yeah, that's what we talk about. Things happen so quickly when you're up on the wall like that and you're on that guy's bumper. there is only one place to go, and that's to the bottom. But if you do it too aggressively, these cars can snap loose. So a very good job to keep those things going straight and in the right direction right there by the 14 and the 87. But the big loser of that one's going to be the 87 of Christopher Herlo, as now he's about 4 or 5 car lengths now behind Comstock as he tries to reel in Anthony DeBarro, who's now pulled out a little over a 1 second lead.
Yeah, 1 second, just like that gap becomes. And Dwayne Vincent, again, this is a scenario that we see a lot, Brian, in this series. I think Dwayne, maybe just a little bit at that, but I think he's quicker than Christopher Herlo. The problem is that we saw Comstock be able to make a move on the bottom. He made that move on the bottom in the first 2 laps off of the restart. Once that time passes, as the 87 picks up the pace a little bit, starts to get back going, once that happens, it's very difficult to go to the inside. It's going to be difficult for guys like Dwayne Vincent to pace himself in a race like this, knowing that if you maybe get 5 cautions in the race, that's 5 real good opportunities. What's to say that you don't make that move because you might not get another shot? This time he was patient. He might not be, though, if that restart comes once again later on tonight.
Yeah, as the laps wind down and we get closer to the end of the race, patience are going to run thin, especially for these guys that know that if they win tonight, they don't have to worry about Talladega next week. You're seeing Anthony DeBarro run away with this race, and for him, that's great because that puts all 11 of his competitors still at risk of not advancing to the next round. But if you're David Comstock, if you're Christopher Herlo, Dwayne Vincent, Eric Burney, pretty much the entire top 10 right now is chase contenders. If you're any of those drivers, you want to get up there and you want to challenge Anthony DeBarro for this race win. And when you get to the end of the race, as you're talking about, and we start getting some cautions like we expect to see, you're going to see these guys get extremely aggressive. We saw Dwayne Vincent on that last restart. He made a very aggressive move to get in front of Eric Brundage. He knew that if he didn't get in front of him right there, there was a good chance he was going to get pinned on the bottom and he was going to lose several positions. You've got to do that, and you're going to see that as we get closer to the end of the race.
Mitch Rollo apparently a fan of the 17 degrees as opposed to the 20. He's trying to get back up through the field after that speeding penalty. Cisco, you got an update from the pit box?
Yeah, after the penalty, Mitch was pretty calm over the radio. Everything he was saying, he was just really focused. He put in the back of his mind, he said he's ready to go to work, and he's just going to make it up and get right back up there to his teammates. So he's a determined man, the guy in the 96.
And he was doing it on the bottom, and again, it might work on some of these slower cars back in 20th, but the quicker you get up to the front, the higher you get in the standings. It'll become progressively more difficult to do that. You see to the inside this time on Doug Roth. Roth, one of the drivers sporting pink numbers for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as he'll actually end up at a fence. It looked like Rollo was going to push high there a little bit, and the STP Chevy backed out of it to avoid any sort of an incident there. No major harm, no major foul, as now Rollo to the inside on Sean Boundy. Slowly but surely, he's picking his way through the field, and top 2 magic number tonight because they have not had a lot of excitement off of the green flag. 1 second, once again, the gap. I was about to say that it looked like Comstock was closing in. He goes to 7/10 of a second. Now it goes back up to a second. So these guys pretty evenly matched and fluctuating, but it stays at about 1 second, the differential between P1, P2. It's 2.5 seconds back, though, to third, and that is still Christopher Herlo. That is still Dwayne Vincent.
Yeah, but now Dwayne Vincent's all over the back bumper of that 87 machine as they head back into turn number 1. He's got a run on him. Will he drop to the inside? No, he's going to back off. He's going to reset himself and try to get a run coming off of the corner. Dwayne Vincent's obviously showing he's got a fast car early on here. The problem is trying to make the pass and trying to get it done quickly before the 94 and the 89 can get up through his bumper.
30 drivers still on the lead lap as we're about 35 laps into this race. Paul Fugate again stayed out the first time down to the pit lane, came down. He's 30th out of 30 cars on the lead lap right now. Jimmy North 1 lap down after being caught up in an incident under the caution flag. He's 31st. 32nd, 2 laps down is Jose Gonzalez. He tangled with that 84 on North. He's 2 laps down. It looks like he got the shorter end of the straw in that exchange. Other than that, EJ O'Rourke on the pit lane. His night may be done. Joseph LaPlaca's 10 laps down. He'll take 33rd from O'Rourke as O'Rourke gets service. And then Douglas Wyatt out of this race as well. So about 5 drivers having some major issues here. Still early at the Kansas Speedway. It's DeBarro up in front of the field right now. The gap is 1.6 seconds in front of David Comstock. And with that, we'll take a quick caution flag of our own, step away, and come back to the action in just a moment. You're watching LSRTV's coverage of the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series, presented by Garry Mercer Trucking. Your race leader at lap number 36 is Anthony Daro. Back live at virtual Kansas Speedway, now 40 laps into the Kansas 188. It's round number 2 of 3 in the Contender 12 round in the chase for the Full Throttle Cup with the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series, presented by Garry Mercer on LSRTV and iRacing Live. You're still watching that battle that rages on for third, and it's starting to get a little bit more than just the battle. The 87 hit the fence a couple of times here and there, and almost again that time in 1 and 2, Cisco.
Yeah, the 13 of Dwayne Vincent came over the radio a couple of laps ago expressing his displeasure at the 87. Meanwhile, in the 87 pit, crew chief for him, Corbin Hemstreet, was saying that the car's a little slower down on the straightaways, just a little bit, but it's not slow enough to the point where Vincent can get a run into the corner. He just can't get the job done. So Vincent not happy with the 87 right now.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Dwayne Vincent and for Eric Brunnies and the rest of these guys behind him, this is how this race is going to be. Because you're pinned up against an outside line and this is the only groove you have to work with, there's not much these drivers can do. All they can do is just wait for him to make a mistake, or they could get aggressive and start using that bumper to try to get around him. And at some point, you have to believe that it's going to happen. Dwayne Vincent has, as you said, he's voiced his displeasure as Jeff Ward right behind them had a major moment off turn 4. He got sideways and saved it. It was amazing right there. But Dwayne Vincent, as you already mentioned, he voiced his displeasure. He's not happy with the 87 of Christopher Hurlow. He's running out of patience, and eventually he's going to use that front bumper to get around him unless Christopher Hurlow decides to give way and let him by.
Evan Pasoko, Andy Kessler, and Brian Macklin with you up inside of the Inside Sim Racing broadcast tower. Scar moves it down on the pit lane. The caution flag will fly. Lap number 43. It's the number 23. Down in turn number 3, the John Deere Chevrolet of Greg Evans from 11th position on the racetrack is turned around, and that was not a single car incident. Yellow flag flies, and when you were just talking about cars getting loose at a turn number 4, same thing happening in turn 2. 23 gets sideways. You'll take a look at the replay now, and Andy, the 25 of Nick Silver. Nowhere for him to go. He hooks that 23, and both of those cars go spinning to the inside.
Yeah, that was a tough break right there. On the back straightaway. Of course, everything happened right off these corners, and we saw it right there off of turn number 2. Just nowhere for these cars to go when everybody's running that top side with that in that top lane. The only place is to go low, and you'd think it's easy to just pull that thing to the left, but it really isn't. And a tough break right there. The 23 just got out of shape, and 25 had nowhere to go. Thankfully for a lot of these other guys, they weren't not involved in that.
We set a 45-lap fuel window. They'll cross over to take lap number 45, but it's the second time down the pit lane under the caution flag.
And Anthony DeBarro going to lead him down to pit road here. Coming down, slowing down 45 tonight to their pit road speed. Actually was talking to the crew chief on the David Comstock machine. He's still got a little bit of damage from getting those temps. Nothing really serious yet, but you know, he's just got to make sure and keep an eye on those temps, make sure the car doesn't blow up here or anything and get too hot. So right now they're going to pull it in. 4 tires right now is what I've heard the call going to be, unless someone's lying to me. Anthony DeBarro just came over the radio, said, pretty good, I got a little in the tank, tire wear looks good, just trying to keep it out of the wall. So that's Anthony DeBarro over the radio. Right now, David Comstock going to barely beat Dwayne Vincent out of the pits. That was close. But sans any speeding penalties, David Comstock going to come out second. Dwayne Vincent able to get past the 87. Looks like he stayed behind on pit road to get some of that damage fixed, because he's back. Looks around 10th area.
And we saw Brendan Mercer come down to the pit lane, much like we saw Rich Jett do so. Brendan was eliminated in the Challenger 16 round of this 2015 chase for the Full Throttle Cup. Came down pit road. I'm not sure if he was watching the Blue Jays instead of his screen, but he went right through all the way to the end. So he's taken over the race lead at the moment in the number 29 GMercer.com Chevy. May come down the next time through, get fresh tires, and put himself well back of all the action and clear and try to march back up from the back. But right now, it does put him as your race leader. Anthony DeBarro officially in second, and it's still Comstock, Vincent, Brundys, and Ward. If Vincent needs an opportunity, now's the time to do it. We have not seen a time yet tonight where it has not been Boomtown Sim on the inside of the first 2 rows on the drop of the first green flag. They occupied the inside of rows 1, 2, and 3. This time, there's not a whole lot of help behind Anthony DeBarro, so Dwayne Vincent, he's got to be up on the wheel, but if you're David Comstock, best time to start second is now. We've seen Brundys the first 2 times get absolutely destroyed, Andy, with those guys communicating down on the bottom. Right now, though, it's the 9 versus everybody behind him.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to see if Dave Comstock can time this just right, because being on that outside line, he should have the advantage coming off of the corner, although, like we talked about before, with the fresh tires, that bottom lane is pretty good for about a lap or so. You can really hold it wide open down there on that bottom side, especially going into the first couple corners. So that's going to be interesting to see Dwayne Vincent, too, see if he can maybe get up into that 3rd spot or maybe even get into 2nd, passing the 14 here on this restart. So a lot of things can happen, but we saw the 94 struggle on that top side the last couple of restarts. He's going to restart 4th here. We'll see if he can get something a little bit better this time around.
And with that, the caution lights extinguished in and around the racetrack, so we will go green to take lap number 48 the next time by. The Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series returns on Monday nights, and the RSR Outlaw Truck Series comes back on Wednesdays, all returning this November for another winter of stock car racing with Real Sim Racing. You can go to www.realsimracing.com, register today, and get on track this season live with LSRTV and iRacing Live with 2 variants of action on Mondays and Wednesdays. Again, that's the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series and the RSR Outlaw Truck Series, Mondays and Wednesdays respectively. You'll find that live on LSRTV. The base car going to get down and away yet again. What does the 9 do this time as the control car? He'll again be on the inside of the front row, and he can go any time from now to the exit of the restart box when the sim drops the green flag. He holds them 2-3 seconds on the loud pedal. Green flag flies, back and away we go, and that time you can see he doesn't have the big advantage of the teammates behind him. First time tonight, the car in second goes to turn 1, still P2. That's Comstock in front of Vincent.
That is, and we saw Brundys there struggle a little bit again on that restart. The 89 was able to get around him on the bottom side, so Brundys will be back to that 5th position here as we roll back into turn number 3 and 4. Comstock, though, he had a pretty good restart right there. He's able to at least keep DeBarro in his sights right now, and Dwayne Vincent also did a great job on that and able to get into that spot there. As we look a little further back here in that top 10 spot, look at all these cars right now. Herlo on the inside of Gottschalk, and right now that's a great battle for that 10th spot.
Oh, and sideways off the corner behind him, Rhett McBride spinning at a turn number 2. He goes down to the apron. He will hang on. No grass down the backstretch at Kansas, a big factor in what allows Rhett McBride to keep it pointed forward the right direction. He will hang on. He will lose a lot of time, though, after that car got sideways on the exit of quarter number 2. With that, though, it doesn't break up the fight. The fight for 10th is over in front of them. Still going at it. Matt Lacrosse down on the inside of the racetrack. The number 21 Chevy sideways that time. That'll allow that one of Thomas Joey George to actually go on and win that battle after the 21 was giving him a run for his money. Lacrosse lines up. He'll settle for 8th.
Yeah, he'll settle for 8th. He got a good battle between a couple of Boomtown cars right behind these guys. Herlo, he's got the position. They had the preferred line on the high side right there. Rollo tried to get around him. Wasn't going to happen. Now they're all back single file now, racing through turns 1 and 2. The 21 and Matt Lacrosse had a close call right there, able to hang on to it. Fortunate for him, he only lost 1 spot. Now he's got to keep that 91 at bay behind him.
Matt Lacrosse, that driver on the inside. Cisco, you're down in the 21 back. Actually, he's going to catch the fence hard that time at a turn number 4. Lacrosse just about knocks it down, and somebody's spinning behind.
That was the number 37 of Ben Burnett. He had a major spin off of turn number 4. He got up against the outside wall. He got loose and then spun it down through the grass. Did a great job hanging onto that car, keeping it straight and not bringing it back up in front of the field. Almost did as they crossed the start-finish line. An incredible job to not bring the caution out and to save his car and save many other drivers there.
Well, you're taking the replay on that one. Ben Burnett, when he hit that wall, he kind of smacked it back in first, so it bounced off the fence. We were just talking about the number 21 up in front of him who caught the fence. Thankfully, Lacrosse doesn't spin, but Cisco, that does not help that team at all as they struggle right now back in 15.
No, absolutely. I talked to Matt Lacrosse before the race, and he said the one spot his team was kind of struggling was on those seams. He did not feel comfortable at all whenever his car hit the seam, either kind of above where he's running or below, anywhere near that. It looks like we got a smoker right now on the front stretch.
And that's hard into the outside wall. The Ronnie 6 machine slow up top side. That is Mitch Rollo right now running in 14th position. Running at time, though, in 11th, and it's going to be turn number 4 where the problem comes from, and that's a big impact, and he's in it with his teammate. Car got sideways, overcorrected that one, Brian Macklin, and when you overcorrect, again, it's not like you're just sliding up back end first. That's basically a head-on impact there. Heavy engine damage, and his teammate in the 87 hurt as well, though. No caution, still green at Kansas.
Yeah, that was major chase implications for 2 of our chase contenders, Christopher Herlo and Mitch Rollo, both in this contender round, and both with major damage. You're seeing the full screen replay of the number 96. He got loose off turn 4, tried to save it, overcorrected into the wall, and took his teammate, the number 87 of Christopher Herlo, with him. And that is huge. This is 2 major championship contenders, 2 drivers that we thought would be a factor for possibly being in the Final 4. Now, they are both in big trouble heading into Talladega next week. They're going to have to go out there and try to win.
And that's never a fun situation to put yourself into, Andy. This one, off of this last restart, has really cranked it up a notch as we close in on the halfway point. Handling really starting to become a big factor.
Yeah, the handling on these cars, a lot of guys with a lot of right side damage from scraping the wall all night long so far. That's kind of hindering a lot of speed on these guys. And like right there, like we saw with the 96 and 87, a little bit of damage goes a long way for all these guys, and it's a tough break for those 2 chase contenders, and something they didn't want was to have to rely on a good run at Talladega. So those guys got a lot to bounce back for. It looks like Mitch Rollo's really going to have to fight hard to get back into this one. The 87 also, but man, everybody's still green. Fortunate for all these other guys that stayed green, but not for those guys. I'm sure they wish they had a caution.
And I believe this validates the conversation that I think, for the most part, 4 tires is the way to go, just because, as we had talked about earlier, and this is an analogy, I know, Andy, we talked about this when we were at Darlington a couple of weeks ago with Pacific Majors, a track very similar to this, where you're very close to the wall, in that oval racing very different from road racing, because the other cars are pretty much the single most determining factor in what's going on. But here, you're racing the track so much more. The other driver's a huge factor still, but again, your primary concern has to be with getting your line correct. The cautions have been pretty fair. They split things up at about 25 lap increments for the first 2 yellow flags tonight, but on a total of 125 laps, it's very difficult to tell somebody to go into turn 3, go into turn 1, a foot from the wall, and don't miss it by, a tenth of a second letting off the gas or you're in the fence just like that. But if you take it easy, you're going to get swallowed up by this super competitive field.
Yeah, it's not going to take much with this competitive of a field. One little slip up, you'll lose 4 or 5 positions, and we've seen that already from a bunch of guys here. As one guy that's already starting to fall back as this run goes on, and we've watched as the 14 of David Comstock was running second, currently running 4th right now. Just maybe pushing it too hard early on to wearing out the tires. And I believe Cisco's got a little something to do with Comstock down there in pit road.
Yeah, David Comstock came over the radio, I think about 2 laps ago now. He said he just kind of lost it off of 4, just got up in the wall a little bit, and that just allowed Vincent and Jeff Ward to get by, but wasn't happy about that. But the car's a little loose right now for that 14 monster machine of David Comstock. Back to you.
And that'll put that number 14 2.5 seconds back, and with Eric Brundy's closing, that may be a P5 that the 14 is soon destined to fall back into at the moment. So Dwayne Vincent, he's 1.8 seconds back. He's still in second place. It's a great running position for Dwayne, but the conversation with Dwayne all season long has been that he hasn't gotten wins. Now, he advanced into this round of 12 with a win in a Challenger 16, long overdue, but if you want to get a win at any point in the season, it's today. You don't want to go into Talladega knowing that one mistake, and it's not even a mistake on your behalf, can take you out of this. And I was kind of surprised the fact that he's running in second, Brian, but he let out a sigh of relief over the radio, almost a little bit frustrated that he can't do anything with Daro. Daro still pulling away now 2 seconds in front.
Yeah, it's my understanding he told his team that he overdrove the car at the beginning of the run. He got the tires hot, and now he's just hanging on, hoping that he doesn't lose any track position here. He's up to second, and that's a really good position to be in. But like you said, you don't want to go into Talladega having to worry about points. You want to be in the shoes that Anthony Daro is wearing right now. He has nothing to lose, and he's trying to do everything he can to make sure everybody else has to worry about points going into Talladega. He has dominated this race. I'm pretty sure he's led just about every lap, other than a couple of laps where drivers have stayed out under caution. He has dominated every aspect of this race. He's dominated the short run, he's dominated the long run, and I don't see any reason why he's not going to continue doing just that unless some of these drivers are holding back until the end of the race. It looks like it's Anthony Daro's race to lose.
And with that, we cross the halfway point in today's race. It's now time to take a look at our iRacing.com midway race break. Caution flag, though, going to split this one in half. It's problems down the back straightaway. Jimmy North turned around. The KB Design Chevrolet is backwards on the apron. And that time, it'll be a single car incident as the 84 damaged it all. Looks like he's been through the ringer tonight, got sideways out of 2, split it out trying to hang on, and although down below the white line, the caution flag will fly. And with that, we will see another round of pit stops. We'll update you on that iRacing.com midway race break in a moment once the standings cycle through. But the reason we're waiting, guys, is because we all know that it's a trip down to the pit lane that's due up for just about every single driver. And for Anthony Daro, still out in front, he'll be the first car down pit road. He's still got that number 1 pit stall for sitting on pole position. He's sitting really pretty right now. He just needs to execute another cycle down to the pit lane. 3 cautions in the first half of this event.
Yeah, 3 cautions. Been spread out pretty good, like you've talked about already early on here. Pit road, it looks like it's going to be open this time by. All the fields starting to really get bunched back up here in turn number 3 and 4. This is going to be the payoff right here, though. If that 13 car, Dwayne Vincent, can get a really good restart, or really good pit stop, I should say, from his crew here to see if he cannot gain any time here. His pit road's open, and all the leaders are heading towards you, Cisco.
Yep, coming down 45 miles an hour. Once again, speed limit going to bring it down. Anthony Navarro's got a bit of a gap on the whole field coming in because of how big of a gap he had in the green flag just now. Talking to Corbin Himstreet on the box, saying that the Boomtown cars are pretty good right now. Daro is pretty quiet on the radio. He's happy. Sean Boundy right now run towards the back a little bit. He is very quiet on the radio as well, but still trying to find a good handle. And the 87 of Chris Hurlow is really watching those gauges right now after the incident we saw on the front straightaway. He's really worried about it blowing up, so they're going to try and maybe get some of that damage fixed up right now. But it looks like Jeff Ward going to beat Dwayne Vincent, and Eric Brundy's also going to beat Dwayne Vincent out. So it's going to be DeBarro, Ward, and Brundy's your top three coming off pit road.
And I think that will be due in part to a small overshoot of that pit box for the number 13 of Dwayne Vincent. Brian, if you're talking NASCAR, there's no issue for the number 13 to get tires on that race car that time down pit road. He overshot his stall. That's what the regulations say on the sim. In reality, you probably would have been able to get away with that in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, but he went past that virtual crew member that he has to come down to. He did a very good job of shifting into reverse and only losing 2 spots. So, again, damage control in that instance. You'll see a replay of that. It could have been a lot worse, but that's the kind of things, again, as I said to you earlier, you have to limit those small mistakes.
Yeah, he got very lucky. He only lost 2 positions there on that pit stop. He could have lost several more. If he had slid through any further and had to have backed up even further than that, he could have lost 10 positions easily on this round of pit stops. So he got very lucky that he's only falling back to 4th. And actually, that's going to work in his favor because he's going to restart on the outside line, which means he's going to have the advantage of that high line when they get up to speed. So it's not going to be a horrible thing for him, but he certainly didn't want to lose 2 positions and take himself out of the hunt. He's in the 4th position, but he was running 2nd. He was quick enough to maintain 2nd place, and I'm sure he didn't want to fall behind these guys.
So the 14 of David Comstock comes into pit road. He'll exit much further than where he came down in Cisco. The 14 looks a lot cleaner at that time out of the pit lane. I think he used some of those 32 seconds to get that car fixed up.
You're absolutely right, Evan. That's what he did. He's went there, got on the wall a couple times there during the green flag run, let it get away from him as we reported on earlier. So just took a little bit extra time, figured hammer out some of those dents, get that car back in top race condition. He's going to come back through the field and says, hey, you know what? If Mitch can do it, I can do it.
So with that, the grid resets. We get set for a restart. Now we'll give you your iRacing.com midway race break, brought to you by iRacing, the leader in motorsport simulations, the official sim racing partner of NASCAR. Anthony DeBarro, your race leader, as the lights go off for the pace car. Jeff Ward in 2nd. It's Brundy's, Vincent, and Thomas J. George through 5th. Dan Murray, Jonathan Cannell, Nick Silver, Steve Gottschalk, Scott Simley in 10th.
11th is Matt Lacrosse. Greg Evans is 12th. 13th is Doug Roth. Chad Cole is 14th, 15th, Sean Bowney, 16th to Nelson Rivera, John Castro, 17th, 18th is Rhett McBride, Tom Dreiling is 19th, and Jake Higgins, 20th.
21st is David Comstock. Joe Dinsmore is 22nd. Ben Burnett, after that incredible save, is 23rd. Scott Stenzel is 24th. Rich Jett is 25th. Jimmy North, who just brought up the most recent caution, he's 26th. Brennan Mercer is 27th. Your last car on the lead lap is Christopher Hurlow, looking to rebound from that accident with his teammate, is 28th. Paul Fugate is 29th, 1 lap down. And rounding out the top 30 is Jose Gonzalez. He's 2 laps down.
The David Duke, Eric Arnold is out of the race right now. He is 31st position. Joseph LaPlaca still out there 12 laps down. Mitch Rolo's on the pit lane. He may be done. E.J. O'Rourke behind the wall. Douglas White as well behind the wall. Adding to the list of drivers with problems. Now 7 have fallen off of the lead lap. There's 28 still on the lead lap, though, for this restart. Pace car going to get down to the way. DeBarro a lot sooner this time at the loud pedal. Green flag flies, and back and away we go. Right down to the bottom. No hesitation. Brundy's trying to get moving, and it'll be assisted by a tire spin from Ward for him to get to 2nd. Hello, though, 89 not giving up, Andy, to the white line, trying to challenge back. I don't think he'll get it, though.
He's trying to challenge, get that bottom lane work. He's going to slide up right in front of Dwayne Vincent. Vincent has nothing to do with that. He drops to the inside. Now it's side by side for 3rd. Vincent, though, he's going to slip up just a little bit. He's going to have to get back in line, so a little hair-raising moment right there for the 89 of Jeff Ward, but the big victor in that right there is the 94 of Eric Brundy's He had his best restart of the night. Now he finds himself in that second spot here coming off of turn 2.
No love lost there after that. An interesting exchange. In the end, Jeff Ward will still stay in front of Dwayne Vincent. The 13 is fourth. Brundy's in front of the number 89 who sits third. It's Brundy's in second, and no surprise, it's Anthony Daro out in front of the field. Back in through the top 10. Nobody double file at the moment. A couple of guys at each other's throat. The fight is just outside the top 10. On the inside of the racetrack, the 21 of Matt Lacrosse. Not the first time we've seen that tonight. He'll give up on that, actually. Jump up to the outside. How about the 7 of Nelson Rivera? Quiet night so far for the Verizon Chevrolet. Started 23rd. He's up to 14th. He wants to get a spot from Chad Cole. Won't get it that time. That's a pretty hefty guy to go up against.
That's a great battle right now, side by side off turn number 4. The 7, not going to be able to make it happen. Here comes a 43 now on the outside. That's Doug Roth. He's going to try to take that spot away from Rivera. He's got the preferred line on the high side, but that 7 again dives way down to that bottom side, all the way to the white line, trying to get a run, but you can see right there, off of the corner, the 43 with the momentum, he's got it. And here comes a 2 of Brett McBride. He's now trying to get that spot away from him.
McBride on the outside of the racetrack. He tries to look low. The spot not there, occupied by the 7 at the moment. And hello behind, David Comstock. He's got a fresh race car. He's just in front of Sean Bounty right now, scored in 17th position. You go on board with that Monster Energy Chevrolet. What does David Comstock do? How physical does he get to the inside? Does he want some 3 wide? Yes, sir. 3 wide down the back straightaway. The fight on for 15th position. Comstock, he'll get one of them at least. The 7 gonna slide back in the middle. Not quite clear though. They'll stick it that way at a turn 4, and it's Comstock all the way down to the inside of the racetrack. He'll get one of those spots, but I told you that these guys aren't going to be backing out of 3 wide late. This is late. We're past halfway. We're on the downhill side.
Yeah, and a great job right there on that outside line by that 34, Sean Bounty. He was able to make that happen and get around Comstock because he saw him way down in that 3 wide action right there. As we look at the 87 car slow, and he's on the apron there out of turn number 4. It looks like he's coming to pit road.
In 87, he's slow on the apron right now. That looks like he just tried to come down to the pit lane and had a self-incident, so Herlo is slow on the apron. Another driver, though, slow, Joseph LaPlaca. We were just talking about the number 79 Furniture Row Chevrolet not all that long ago for having a pretty good run, and that car is pretty torn up as he brings it down to the pit lane. He didn't really get into anybody, just had some damage on that race car, was a little bit late out of the pit road for some additional services. He comes back down, and it looks like the engine damages may be terminal. So although 2 cars slow, it is not from an immediate on-track incident. 2 separate problems will bring both of those drivers down to the pit lane. Meanwhile, it's Brundy's in second in front of Jeff Ward. That's the closest fight inside of the top 5 right now. You got to look back to 16th before you find the next fight, and it is still David Comstock. But, you know, Comstock is fast when he's up front. The 87 getting word that that is done. He will retire for the evening. And, Brian, you know, the 34 of Sean Bounty has been in about 16th position all race long. Started 21st, did a good job of getting around some guys early. He's fast around guys like McBride and Roth. So you look on paper at a guy like David Comstock, Comstock should have no problem getting around these guys. But once you get back there with them, it is harder to pass him. You think you'd be able to blow him out of the water, being a top 5 car all night long. That's not the case. Comstock's learning that.
Well, not only that, but he does still have a little bit of damage on that car. The pit crew did a great job fixing it up and pulling the fenders out, but they were not able to get the car back to 100%. So he's definitely still racing with a little bit of an injured race car, and that's going to make it a lot harder for him to come up through the field. He's going to have to wait for mistakes to happen in front of him. He may even have to take a chance on some 2 tires if they get a caution here shortly to try to get some of that track position back. I'm not sure that he's got enough time or a fast enough race car to get by these guys cleanly and get back up to where he was before. I think he's going to have to do something wild if he's going to get back up into the top 5.
The number 25 of Nick Silver, one of the other names that had some very good runs this season, was able to qualify for the 2015 chase for the Full Throttle Cup, was eliminated in that first set of eliminations, was the first driver out on the cut line. Well, he's making moves on some veterans. Thomas J. George into tonight, the highest driver in points above the cut. through one race of 3 in this Contender 12 round, the 25, with a slide job on him, showing that he's not shy or nervous at all about racing against an RSR veteran, and Silver, with that move, takes over 5th spot, and that means he's passed 20 cars from the start of the race in that Ford Service Ford Fusion.
Yeah, he's done a great job all night long. Very quietly, though. Just picking them off one at a time on the restarts, getting a couple guys each time, and doing a great job. Is that number 25 machine. He's actually gaining a little bit of momentum here. He's about 2-3 car lengths now ahead of Thomas J. George. But Giorgio, he's got some company right behind him. That 5 of Dan Murray and Jonathan Goodell, and the 11, who we haven't talked about too much here, except for early on in the race. He's trying to make his way back up into the top 5, so a pretty good battle right now between these 4 cars.
Your chase drivers into tonight: Anthony Daro, Thomas J. George. You got David Comstock, Dwayne Vincent, Mitch Rollo, Jeff Ford, Christopher Hurlow, Dan Murray. Into tonight, those were the 8 drivers above the cut. Rich Jett, Greg Evans, Eric Brundys, Jonathan Cannell, the drivers below the cut. That will for sure change through tonight, and I'm sure it'll change at Talladega, which will give us our second cut of eliminations in just 1 week's time. The battle for 4th not slowing down at all behind. It's Nick Silver, Thomas J. George, Dan Murray. Throw Jonathan Cannell and Scott Simley into the mix as well. That's about a 5-car fight. The 11 going to catch the fence a little bit. Simley will have a run at a turn number 4. Not enough to make a move. Peeking to the inside, and he will go for it. It'll be side by side for 8th, this time to turn 1.
Gonna try to make something happen on that bottom side. We know later in the run it usually doesn't happen. The 11 slips up just a little bit, but not enough. Cadell's gonna be able to stay ahead of Simley. Simley, though, he's gonna lose some momentum on that bottom side. That's gonna allow the 23 of Greg Evans to now catch up to his rear bumper here. And here comes a whole big slew of other cars now. Here comes 8 of Chad Cole. He's trying to get into the mix also as they head back into turn number 1.
And we see groups like this. You have the guys 2nd through 4th, Brundys, Ward, Vincent, they're fighting. Then 2 seconds back from them, as we mentioned, Silver, George Murray, Cadell, Simley, throw Greg Evans into the pile, as well as Chad Cole. But that's another group of about 5-6 cars. You look at a second and a half behind him, you got guys like Lacrosse, Gottschalk, Bride, Comstock. Everybody still out there, although they're single file. You'll notice gaps of about 1, 2, 3 seconds in between sets of cars every here and there. It is very difficult to get away from somebody if you're leading a packet. Almost considered lucky that you don't have to deal with the stresses of being in somebody's wake every single time, as that'll affect your quarter entry. The gap up front is still 1 second as we work lap number 86. Daro has been quick, there's no question about it, but he's not quicker one run and slower the next run. He's consistently at a 1 second margin, and that means to me, I believe, that he's not pushing that race car. He's comfortable at this speed.
Yeah, he's comfortable at this speed, and he's doing a great job kind of maintaining that gap, although I do believe this is the best Eric has run, Brundys that is, and in the 94 right behind him in 2nd. This is the best he's run all night long. Was able to get that good restart there, and I believe he's been able to maintain this 1 second gap.
Trouble for David Comstock, back in the pack, spinning down on the apron. Caution flag will fly at lap number 87, and it is the 2 of Rhett McBride just in front of him. We talk about drivers not in the chase playing a factor. The major talking point on that is a driver not in the chase winning. Well, a driver not in the chase in that 2 of McBride, sideways at a turn 2. The 14 tries to avoid it, and Andy, there was nowhere for Comstock to go. And again, this doesn't happen if that car doesn't get damaged earlier. That's fine to say. He makes the decision to get the car fixed, to go back there. He's in an incident. He's got that damage right back where it was, and now he's back, way back in the field. Probably going to be one of the last 5 cars on the lead lap, and that is a huge hit for the 14.
Yeah, that's just going to leave Talladega. He's going to have to go out and win or have a pretty awesome run in that, and rely heavily on that plate track as pit road's open again. For our leaders, a little bit closer of a race down pit road. They're all coming right back to you, Cisco.
Yep, they're coming down pit road. Anthony Daro once again leading them in. Talking to Dave Washington right now in the box for Eric Brundys. No changes for the 94. He's better than, he's saying the car right now, it's pretty good right now in clean air. He doesn't really like it in traffic, so right now where he's running in second, he's got enough of a gap where he's pretty confident in the car. He can hold that position. Meanwhile, in the 9 camp, splash of gas for the 9 car should help the handling. They're not going to fill up the car all the way, so maybe take some of the weight out. It's going to be close race on pit road. I couldn't call it, guys. Who got second?
The drag race off. Brundy's on the inside of the racetrack. It looks like they'll give it to the number 94. The White Castle Ford Fusion will maintain second. Barely beating him off at a pit lane. Tom Dryerling will stay out. The number 6 gets a bonus point for leading a lap. With this, we're going to step away for a commercial break. We'll go LSRTV non-stop as we close in on the checkered flag. You're watching the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Garry Mercer Trucking on LSRTV and iRacing Live.
People and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Once its sights are set, nothing can stop the ferocious lion from capturing its prey. Relying on keen senses, lions search patiently before striking with alarming speed. Wait for it. Gotcha, Mr. Piece of Rubbish. He is truly the master of his environment. Do good, be a lion.
We're back live at the Kansas Speedway with the lights off on top of the caution car as we get set to go back at it inside of 35 laps to go in the Kansas 188. It's the second race of 3 rather, in the Contender 12 round, the second round in the chase for the Full Throttle Cup. Anthony Daro has been absolutely picture perfect so far through 91 laps. Can he continue that and wrap this one up off of what could be one of the final caution flags of the evening? And with that, it means it's going to be the final shot to get everything you can off of a restart, and all the way from the drop of the first green flag, but getting progressively more exciting since we know that these drivers know that they need to get something, and if they have any hopes of going forward, it starts right here. The American Childhood Cancer Organization, the Ford Mustang GT, going to make the sharp left-hand turn and get down, get out of the way. Anthony Daro right on the loud pedal. Green flag flies and back and away we go. Not wasting any time at all. That gives an advantage to Vincent. He'll make it side by side for second. Down to the grass, trying to get around Brundy's. He's clear.
He's got him clear. Brundy's going to stay on that high side. The 13 of Dwayne Vincent, though, on the bottom side. We've seen that every restart now on that first corner. Able to hold that thing wide open. The battle, though, right now is for that fourth spot between the 1 and the 25. The 25 of Nick Silver. We talked about him being real quietly making his way to the front. Here he is now up to that fourth spot. He's got him clear. The 1 into the wall. Trouble. The 1's into the grass. He got into the wall. They got a little help from Jeff Ward. Able to hang on to it. Keep it straight right now through the grass. Going to lose a ton of positions and a ton of time as the field goes roaring past him in turn 1.
And he blends back up onto the banking just after the 2 wide gets clear. That could have been a lot worse. He kept it on the grass. He avoided going down to pit road, so I don't think he's going to receive any kind of penalty for that. But that's going to drop him back from 4th position all the way right now as he sits behind the number 6 of Tom Dryerling. It looks like about 24th as you take another look at that impact at a turn number 4. Sent him way down into no man's land. Down the front straightaway, and for Thomas J. George, who came in the best out of all the guys and have a gap on points, 10 points is not enough to make up for a drop of 21 that lap.
Yeah, that's definitely what George did not want happening there. Contender, he's going to drop a bunch of positions. We talked about this being the end of the race, or close to the end of the race, and every position means everything to him. Is sounds like we got some more trouble right now. As John Bounding, the 34, has now gone through the grass. So trouble for a bunch of these guys here in this late restart.
That was about identical. It looks like Gottschalk got into the back of him after the checkup, so that's what assisted Boundy down into the off-road territory there. But again, a very similar incident, almost identical to what you saw with Thomas J. George. Cisco, understandably, he's not very happy in 24th now.
No, he came over the radio as soon as he kind of got it set back up and was not happy at all. His crew trying to get him calmed down, get him back focused here, but he knows how dangerous that could be to his championship hopes.
Caution flag, and with that, it's the number 84 hearing. Jimmy North problems earlier in this race, and it looks like it is indeed the KB Design Chevy slowed down the back straightaway. He's got heavy black smoke pouring out of that race car, and for the second time tonight, an exactly identical thing again. Turn 2 caught him that time, though. He couldn't correct and spin it out. He hits the fence pretty hard.
Yeah, he took a huge hit into that inside wall on the backstretch here. A lot of smoke coming out of that car. The 84 is probably going to be done here as we put the replay up on the screen for you. Just flat out lost it himself right over that one of those seams that Cisco had been talking about. These drivers saying they're having a lot of problems with. Right off of the corner there, he was a little bit lower than most of these other guys coming off the corner, and the car just got right out from around him. Thought he had a chance to save it there, but it just overcorrected and right into that inside wall. A tough break right there for the 84 Jimmy North. Tough night all around, and looks like pit road's going to be open again for their leaders.
4 tires, no fuel for the 9 car. He's coming in. They were talking about on the radio, but it's just DeBarro's afraid it's going to make the car too loose, so they're going to put 4 fresh ones in the number 9 Speed 77 machine. Meanwhile, Eric Brundy's going to take as well 4 tires. Also worried about the car getting a little too loose, and just as you said, Andy, those seams are really starting to get them, so these drivers are a little wary of taking 2, but it looks like maybe some guys toward the back of the pack going to try 2. Is that David? Contact on pit road, it looked like.
You were just about to talk about David Comstock. It'll be 2 tires for the number 14 Monster Energy Chevrolet that is going to bring him from 18th to 2nd on the pit lane. Talk about a gamble. If somebody's going to make it, though, David Comstock in a pretty good spot to do so. Now, you never want to be in a spot where we called it acceptable, Andy, to do 2 tires at a track like Kansas. You'll take a look at the replay right now as David Comstock comes down and he'll get his service. You'll see that in just a moment. 18th to 2nd is pretty good, but I mean, that's going to be a long 25 laps.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough 25 laps on 2 tires, everybody else on 4. You know, we talk about these cars being a little bit loose. The sun's shining. We see a lot of races typically here in Kansas under the lights, means a lot of grip, cooler temperatures. As we'll take a replay of the pit stop going on right now. But you talk about that, and then now you talk of 2 tires. 2 tires typically make these cars a little bit looser. You're talking about the hot, slick conditions of this track here as later we get into the run, especially that high side being where everybody's running. The temperature's got to be pretty hot up there on that racetrack, which also leads to it getting maybe a little bit slick for these guys. So it's going to be interesting to watch that 14, see if he's able to hang on to it and stay inside the top 5 at least.
The Real Sim Race Seat Icebreaker Winter Series returns on Mondays, and the RSR Outlaw Truck Series is going to be returning Wednesday nights as well this November for another off-season of stock car racing. You can go to realsimracing.com, register today, get out on track this season live on LSRTV and iRacing Live with the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series on Mondays and the trucks on Wednesdays. All of that information can be found at realsimracing.com. You can also go to facebook.com/pages/realsimracing or just search Real Sim Racing, give them a like for all your information. We also encourage you to go online and stay up to date with everything LSRTV online at our website at livesimracing.com. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/livesimracingtv. The number 87 paces the field at the moment. It's Christopher Hurlow behind the pace car. He gets set to get away by 11 laps down. It's something. He'll go to 10 laps down as he gets waved by. That means, though, the light's off on the pace car. Daro jumps up to the top spot. It's Comstock on an outside lane, Brian, that has not been a very good place to be, and on 2 tires, which we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be in that bad of a position, though. They didn't run that many laps on the tires there, and he was in a position where he really didn't run the car very hard. He had to be very conservative behind guys that were a lot slower than him, so he was really taking his time. So I don't think he's in a bad spot. I don't think he's going to be able to win the race with that move, but I don't think you're going to see him drop too far back. I think he'll maintain a top 5 position, and with 25 laps to go, I can't blame him. He was in a bad spot anyway. He had a major damage on the right side of that car after his contact with Rhett McBride earlier on. He needed to do something to try to save his chase hopes. So I like this call, and I think it's going to work out for him.
The stage is set. It's Daro and Comstock on the front row. Dwayne Vincent, Eric Brundy's third and fourth, and fifth on the inside of row 3. The number 89 of Jeff Ward. You'll go picture in picture on board with the 14 of David Comstock as they make contact in 3 and 4. What can a Monster Energy Chevy do? What a restart. Great flag flies back and away we go. Daro goodbye, and in the dust is David Comstock. Not much of a problem for Dwayne Vincent. He'll use the inside, slide up and take second. And as well, that now 89 and Jeff Ward trying to do the same. He's not settling with third, though, all the way to the white line, trying to get some more, trying to get in front of Comstock sideways. He hangs on.
Yeah, we saw it right there, a little loose for Comstock. That's going to make the 89 kind of check up just a bit also. That's going to drop him back in line. Comstock able to hold on to that 3rd spot for now. Brundy's the big loser on this, all the way back to 5th now. As Dwayne Vincent sitting in 2nd, going to try to reel down the leader if he can.
And with that, they try to reset, get in the line, and try to log some laps inside of 25 laps to go. And we're talking about why that 9 and Daro didn't want 2 tires. He was afraid of making it the race car too loose. That is exactly what you're seeing with David Comstock. The 14 is trying to hang on, and it's Jeff Ward to the inside, thinks about it. 14 going to shut the door. The battle for 3rd rages on, that time across the start-finish line. A little bit of a tap to turn 1 as the 89 trying to find a way through.
He's trying to find a way through. He's got the momentum. You can see that the 4 tires is a tad bit faster here as he comes down the back straightaway after turn number 2. He's going to look to the inside. He's going to stick the nose in there, dive it way down into turn number 3. He's got him clear. Now he's going to push up the racetrack. Comstock going to actually dump down to the bottom a little bit, try a crossover move. Now he's going to look to the inside. Decided against it now. That's going to bring Brundy's and the 25 of Nick Silver now into the picture. They're all single file though on the top side. Leave Jeff Ward now into that 3rd spot.
And Brian, I don't know if it's exactly how it went down, but it looked like when that 89 came up in front of Comstock gave him a little bit of a shot back. The 89 wins the battle though.
Yeah, David actually came across the radio and told Jeff that he had the position and that he was going to push him down the front straightaway. That was just a letting him go and then pushing him and giving him a little bit of draft help down the front stretch. There was no harm, no foul there.
Those guys sort things out for 3rd and 4th, and as Andy had mentioned, now 5th position, Eric Brundy's, he wants to join the party. It is a couple of outliers inside the top 8. Out of the top 8, 6 of those drivers started no worse than 8th in the race. Anthony Daro, who's at 1st, was your pole sitter. Jeff Ward, who sits in 3rd, started in 6th. Your 8th place starter, Comstock, is in 4th. Brundy started second, he's fifth. Then you got Dan Murray in seventh, who started fourth. Greg Evans started seventh, he sits eighth right now. Two guys that have had to make a long journey to where they are now. Dwayne Vincent started inside a top 10 spot, though, on the outside of the row number 5. He's in second, but I can't get over Nick Silver. Talked about him a couple of laps ago, a couple of yellows ago. He is still hanging tough with 2 seasoned veterans in front of him as an underdog after passing 19 drivers. He's maintaining that top 10 spot. It's not a fluke.
No, he's definitely got a fast car here today at Kansas. He's got a few more laps to get this done. As we see now, Brundy's go to the outside of the 14 of Comstock into turn number 1. He's going to have that preferred line. He's going to get to not do anything about it. Here comes the 25 of Silver. He's going to make the pass. Move Silver up into the top 5 now. Comstock back to 6th.
The Comstock falls to 6th, but again, being 12 spots up from where he started, Brian, I think if you're David Comstock, realistically, you had to think that 2-tire stop is not going to give you the win. I feel if he doesn't fall back to 18th, it worked.
Yeah, I think he knew going in this 2-tire stop was not going to win him the race. He just didn't want to be back there, and with less than 25 laps to go when he made that call, he knew he needed to get some kind of track position and then play defense for the end of this race and try to hold on to as much as he could. I definitely think this was still a good call. I don't think he's going to fall all the way back to 18th. I didn't think he would fall out of the top 5, but it looks like the car is just not handling the way he wants it to, and he doesn't have the straightaway speed, so these guys are able to beat him down the straightaways. As here, Dan Murray tried to do the same thing that we saw Eric Brundy's do to him a couple of laps ago, but was not able to make the move. He is holding on strong right here in the 6th position, and hopefully he can stay inside the top 10.
He tried to just power through up on the outside of the racetrack. That didn't work. The 14 is able to come through and shut the door. So these drivers having a pretty good night. Some of the drivers that have not had a good night include the number 96 of Mitch Rollo. He started in 3rd. He's 31st right now. 46 laps to the negative, but at least he's back out on track, Cisco.
Yeah, they had to put in a brand new motor in that thing. That motor was absolutely hammered in the 96 Race Chaser Online machine. So they put a new motor back in, but it's still pretty hurt. So he's just going out there making laps, hoping maybe something else happens to some of the chasers up there. He can grab a few more spots, get those precious points going into Talladega, because it's Talladega. Anything could happen there.
And by going back out, he passes Eric Arnold, Joseph LaPlaca in the standings. He'll stay on the apron, stay out of everybody's way, but I can guarantee you, Andy, if some other guys in this field, even some of the chase guys, a limited number of them, if they were in the same spot, I would not be surprised to see them pull over, park it, and walk away from the racetrack. Instead, you have a guy like Mitch Rollo who sticks around for the extra hour with the damaged car to get 2 points. It might seem futile, but you never know at a Talladega where those 2 points will put you.
No, you never know, and that's exactly why those guys are. That's exactly why those guys are back out on the track. Every point matters. That's why you're in the championship hunt to begin with. You did everything right all season long, and this is the right call for that team to get back out there. And 2 points is 2 points, especially with a competitive field as we do have. It's a no-brainer for him to get back out there. Still a long road to go, and a tough race next week that he's going to have to come out and really shine at.
Meanwhile, Comstock continues to tumble down. He's in 8th spot right now. Soon it'll be 9th. Jonathan Cadell, another one of our RSR Chase for the Full Throttle Cup drivers, trying to get around up on the top side. The number 11 machine comes into tonight 12 points below the cut. 12th out of the 12 drivers that advance to this Contender 12 round, needing a good run. It looks like it'll be a top 10 on par for him as that Toyota Camry makes the pass to get back to a single-digit spot. Comstock going to continue to sink. He try maybe to hang on to a top 10, maybe the ultimate goal at the end of this one. Eyes have the train, though, to the front of the field. It has been relatively uneventful if you're Anthony Daro outside of the restarts in which you have had to nail, and you have nailed them all night long. He hasn't even given these guys a fair shot at getting at him, and surprise, surprise, Andy, the gap, 1.1 seconds. So DeBarro's sitting good right now in front of Dwayne Vincent. This time by, it'll take 11 laps to go. If we get a caution before 5 remain, it will give us the opportunity for one more restart. However, without the green-white checker system implemented in the iRacing service, a caution with 4 laps to go or less would end this race under the yellow.
Yeah, I think for a lot of guys, they don't have a shot to get up there to Daro. They haven't all night. It's really been a battle for that second, third, fourth spot here all night long. He's just been the class of the field all night. I'm sure a caution with 4 to go wouldn't disappoint most of these guys. I'm sure they'll just take it at this point. But yeah, Daro's just his win last week and then now dominating here at Kansas, trying to just basically stink up the field here, not giving anybody a chance. He's going to make 11 guys race for it next week at Talladega. So he's doing everything he can to get himself, make those other guys sweat next week. He obviously doesn't have to.
Greg Evans in the fence just a little bit. The John Deere Tractor Chevrolet in turns 3 and 4. I was about to note that he one of the fastest guys right now moving forwards-wise. He was all over the back of Dan Murray. The 5 is in 6th. They're all behind Nick Silver, who sits in 5th himself. That's a pretty good fight right now with 3 drivers separated by less than 0.2 of a second on the racetrack right now. But again, that does not affect the race lead at this point unless a caution flag really throws a curveball into this one. Most of these guys have settled where they'll end up at the end of the evening. Other than that, 5th, though, still well up for grabs with 3 guys bumper to bumper to bumper, that time through turn number 4. Murray thinks about going high. I don't think he's got enough raw speed, though, to do so. Silver still has that spot.
Yeah, Silver doing a great job, just really holding your line. Tough place to pass. We've talked about it all night long. If you can hold that line and maintain some decent speed on that top side, it's going to be tough to get around you. And right now, the 5 of Dan Murray's, he's getting a full picture of that right now. He just has nowhere to go. Can't look to the low side. He's not going to have the momentum. And if he goes to the bottom side, he's going to give up a lot of time. And actually, he goes to the high side right there. He's going to give up a lot of time to that 23 machine of Greg Evans right behind him. So right now, it's just it's a very frustrating place to really race, Evan. When you talk about it, you want to pass it. You got to run like we see right now. Dan Murray have a run. He sticks a nose to the inside of Silver heading back into turn number 3. The problem is he's just not going to be able to carry enough speed there on the bottom, and Silver's going to maintain that spot. And Greg Evans now, he's going to try with a little momentum maybe to take that spot away from Murray.
Well, the problems continue for Thomas J. George back in 16th. Gets sideways at a turn 2, and he puts Nelson Rivera hard into the outside wall. This just 2 laps ago on lap number 118. It was a fight for position for 16th spot on track, and Rivera in the fence again may allow Brendan Mercer to get a spot on him as they fight in turn number 2. Doesn't bring out a caution, but it was just about as close as you can get to having one without having that caution flag drop, so we still stay green. 5 laps to go. That time by for Anthony Daro, trying to go back-to-back on the season and take home his 2nd win of this round alone, and make sure that he maybe keeps a spot away from a guy like Dwayne Vincent. You take the 9 out of the equation. If he wins last week and doesn't show up here, Dwayne Vincent wins this race. Dwayne's got a free ticket past Talladega. That's something that Anthony's going to have to deal with in the Eliminator 8 round. So the 9 playing just as much of a spoiler tonight as those non-chase drivers are mixing it up with these guys as well.
Yeah, and he's doing a great job. Just the class of the field right now, 1.4 seconds over Dwayne Vincent. Just kind of, he's been so consistent all night long, Evan. Lap time after lap, you look at his lap times on the board, every single lap just so consistent. The same line every single time around this track. His pit crew's been great on pit road all night long, getting him back out in front of all these guys. He hasn't had to contend with anybody really on these restarts. He's been in control, able to get out ahead of them, and he has not had to deal with any traffic, anybody behind him, or anybody in front of him, I should say. So just class of the field right now. He's been the class of the field for the last 2 weeks, and he's showing why he's going to be a real contender and a real threat here as this chase continues on.
Brian, it'll be 2 laps to go this next time by. You're a 5-time winner in RSR with 2 to go. You know, it's pretty easy to throw in the towel for these guys, but this is the longest green flag stretch maybe that we've seen all night long. The tires, there's not a whole lot left. You can't lose concentration. You got to make it 2 more laps around.
Yeah, with 2 laps to go, the last thing you want to do is lose focus and make a mental mistake. You could cost yourself a ton of positions, and like you were talking about with Mitch Rollo getting out there and getting those 2 points, you don't want to give up any points here with 2 laps to go. You just want to bring it home at this point. Don't do anything that's going to cost you a position where you're sitting right now.
And we saw a problem back in the pack a little bit with the number 34, Sean Bounty, just as we talk about that. Late in the run, it's a car that's beat up. There's not a whole lot left on those Goodyear Eagles, just trying to limp it home. It's less than 1.5 miles for Anthony Daro. He'll ride the outside of the Kansas Speedway all the way around. And now down the back straightaway for the final time. Fastest car in practice. He started in the number 1 spot, qualifying on pole position after losing it with just 2 minutes left in qualifying. Comes back, gets pole, and never looks back. Turn number 4, checkered flag will fly. Anthony Daro goes back-to-back in the Full Throttle Cup Series, and he will take a ticket away from somebody who could have possibly punched their way to the Eliminator 8. He'll just pad that bonus. And again, once you get to the 8, he's not going to get the bonus points that he had into the initial Challenger round of 16, but he makes sure that none of his competition, and including his teammates, are going to have an easy job. We will have 11 of the 12 drivers in this Contender 12 rounds fate be determined after a race at Talladega Superspeedway, guys.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting race next week. 11 guys are going to come into that race just sweating bullets, hoping that that one mistake doesn't happen to them, that one accident doesn't collect them. It's going to be a fun one to watch. I can't wait for next week. But one guy who definitely has nothing to worry about when it comes to Talladega was that 9 car of Anthony Daro.
So Daro gonna burn it down and a well-deserved victory as he sweeps the evening for the virtual Kansas Speedway. He burns it down, and then he'll bring that car for the 2nd week in a row into the virtual RSR victory lane. We'll talk to him then, and we'll talk to some of our top finishers as well in just a moment. We step away. We come back to the Kansas Speedway in a moment with the LSRTV post-race show coming right up. You're watching the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Garry Mercer Trucking. Race for the Full Throttle Cup post-race from Kansas. We'll see you in a moment.
Truex in the outside, contact made. 56 slides it at a 4. Who's going to be into stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Monza is a very historic track. It's been around since the 20s, and it's gone through several permutations since then. We're also bringing forward a number of configurations. So there's chicanes that they've installed since the track's early days. So they can use original, very high-speed configurations of the track where the cars would just blow through where the chicanes are today, or they could use a more modern version. So it's a pretty cool, compelling track. The unique thing about Monza is it has a road course, but it also has a high-speed oval, and that high-speed oval can be run by itself. The Grand Prix course can be run by itself, and they also can be run together in a combined circuit, which is very unique and special in motorsports. This was one of the more challenging projects that we've undertaken. It was essentially building 2 tracks in one. It took a lot of time and a lot of care was put into it, but we're really happy about the end result and we think that people have a lot of fun driving it.
Back live high atop the virtual Kansas Speedway as Contender 12 round chase race number 2 of 3 on the round is in the books. It's Anthony Daro who wins tonight the Kansas 188 for the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series, presented by Garry Mercer Trucking, live tonight on LSRTV and iRacing Live. We welcome you into the LSRTV post-race show after what was an exciting race, but the lead changes only coming under the caution flag here tonight. Anthony Daro, picture perfect as we lead you into our LSRTV race results. Fastest in practice, fastest in qualifying, wins the race. And if you tuned in with us a little bit earlier on in the evening, you know that it was a guy that qualified in second, Eric Brundy's, a 29.733, was faster than Daro's 29.733. So those guys were in a deadlock, Andy, when we went to the national anthem. That means that they were separated by less than 1/10,000th of a second. So the gap actually so tight that it wouldn't even show on our official numbers here. Daro comes right back out on track. He wins that, gets the pole, goes on to win this race in front of Dwayne Vince 13, probably getting up there to double digits for second place finishes on the 2015 campaign. Jeff Ward going to come home in third in tonight's race. It'll be a fourth for Eric Brundy's. Dan Murray will round out our top 5.
Yeah, Greg Evans in the 23 will finish 6th here tonight. Nick Silver, a great run for him in that 25 car. He finishes 7th. Jonathan Cadell very quietly finishes 8th tonight. David Comstock, rebound finish from being mid-pack of the field most of the night with a couple little incidents. He finishes 9th. Scott Stenzel in the 42 will round out the top 10.
Rich Jett's going to finish in the 11th position. Chad Cole is going to finish 12th. He had a very quiet night. Didn't really hear much of anything about him tonight. Thomas George, one of your chase contenders, he had a slide through the grass late in the race, managed to rebound for a 13th place finish. 14th goes to Tom Drilling, and Sean Casto is going to round out your top 15.
It was a 16th for Steve Gottschalk. Brendan Mercer comes home in 17th. It's an 18th for Nelson Rivera. Rhett McBride in 19th. And Joan Dinsmore, good run, rounds out our top 20.
21st tonight was the 34 of Sean Bounty. The 21 car of Matt Lacrosse will come home 22nd. 23rd went to Scott Simley. 24th, Doug Roth. Paul Fugate will finish 25th.
Finishing in the 26th position is going to be Jose Gonzalez, 1 lap down. Christopher Hurlow, after a rough night, one of your chase contenders, he's going to finish 27th, 11 laps down. 28th goes to Ben Burnett. He is 25 laps down. Jimmy North, after 2 accidents on the back straightaway, he finished 30 laps down in the 29th position. And rounding out the top 30 is Jake Higgins. He's going to finish 43 laps down. The rest of the field here finished out of the race. Mitch Rollo, big time chase contender there. He's 58 laps down. Eric Arnold finished 32nd. Joseph LaPlaca finished 33rd. EJ O'Rourke finished 34th. And rounding out your 35 car field, Douglas Wyatt finished 122 laps down in the 35th position. And Evan, we have a lot of stories to talk about, and it's going to be exciting going to Talladega next week, watching these guys try to battle for those 8 spots the 11 drivers are going to go after.
And it is quite the exciting mix-up of points coming through this one. Got a couple of guys tied, including the cut line. One of the ties out of tonight. We'll get to that in a moment. Until then, though, going to pass things down to the pit lane. Brian, you're actually caught up with our 3rd place finisher tonight from the hands of the 89 of Jeff Ward.
Yes, I have caught up with the driver of the number 89 Chevrolet SS, Jeff Ward. Jeff, you had a really impressive night tonight. You stayed in the top 5 pretty much all night long. Of course, it didn't seem like you had anything for the number 9 machine, but a solid run and got a good points day going into Talladega. What are your thoughts going into Talladega next week?
Well, first off, congrats to Anthony. He definitely had a dominant car out there. I don't think anybody had anything for him. But this definitely helps going into Talladega. You know, we got 3rd here and then 6th last week. So that's 2 pretty good weeks to get us into the next round. And hopefully we can stay out of trouble out there.
And going into Talladega, you are 13 points above the cut line, above ninth position. How do you feel with that number? Do you feel safe, or do you feel like with Talladega being the wild card that it is, that you just can't play it safe next week?
Well, it's not one of our best tracks. Usually a lot better at short tracks and the intermediates, but we'll go out there and we got some good teammates, so hopefully we can get in the line out there and try to stay out of trouble. And I'm not real comfortable with plus 13, but it could be worse, and anything can happen. So we'll see how it goes.
And real quick before we let you go, just want to give you an opportunity to give your sponsor shout-outs and any friends and family you want to say hi to at home.
Yeah, thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast. Thanks to Steel Horse Racing, friends and family.
All right, that is driver number 89, Jeff Ward, finishes in the third position here tonight at the Kansas Speedway. I believe now we're going to move a little bit further down pit road where Andy has caught up with our second place finisher, driver number 13, Dwayne Vincent.
Yeah, that's right. I'm down here on pit road with the driver of the 13, Dwayne Vincent. Dwayne, one spot short to punch that ticket into that next round of the chase. You were able to do it in that first round of 3 races, but now everything leans towards Talladega.
Yeah, that's a scary thought, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, really, nobody had anything for Anthony. He was so fast, especially on the long runs. Jeff and I both had a little bit of right front damage. I didn't have much. I mean, I was able to get it fixed, but I don't even think if I had no damage, I could have called Anthony. He was that good. But this is a tough place, man. I'm wore out.
Yeah, we talk about this place just it's almost like a Darlington. You got to race the track before you can race your competitors. The bottom line's definitely not the place to carry a lot of speed, except maybe on that first opening lap of a restart. Once you're on that high side, talk about how hard it was to get around some of these guys, even if you knew you were faster.
That's one of the hardest things, really. You get a couple of guys maybe bouncing off the wall a few times, and they just get such a run off that it's so hard to get by them. And if they won't let you by, they just hold you up. But it is what it is. You can't blame them. But that is one of the biggest problems with this place, with the high groove like that.
Well, you were able to secure a solid second place finish here tonight. You put a little bit of gap between yourself and the cutoff, but talk about going into Talladega next week. Obviously, it's not a place where you can just ride around and get a decent finish, and it's one of the places you really got to be up on the wheel, and a lot of your fate's really not in just your hands; it's in everybody else in the field too.
Yeah, man, you just gotta do what you gotta do, and hope everything works out. I'm gonna try to get to the front and stay up there if I can, but we'll see. Yeah, and like you said, you got to put your faith in everybody else as well. The slightest mistake by anybody can cause major problems for everyone. But we're gonna give them hell.
Well, that's what it's all about, and that's why this whole format is what it is. And a great finish tonight. Anyone you want to thank for this one?
Thank Mom and Dad for watching. Radius Motorsports, and all you guys at LSR. I appreciate you guys filling in. Everybody at RSR for letting us have all this fun. We appreciate it.
Well, there you have it. Dwayne Vincent, our second place finisher here tonight at Kansas. He's looming. He's thinking about next week already. Most of these guys are in the field, Evan, but there's one guy that really put the damper on anyone trying to get their free ticket into the next round, and that's Anthony Daro, whose back-to-back wins have really forced everybody to have to work really hard at Dega.
Again, we talk about guys that like to play spoiler, and normally that's restricted to guys that aren't in the chase. And we've said that all season long. If you're a guy that's down at the points, you come in to get a win, you take that away from a chase guy. Or the fact that when we come to the chase last round, we didn't only go out there on track with 16 guys. We went out there with 35, 36 guys that show up every single week. That's exactly the way the chase works. And for Anthony Daro to come into last week's race, opening this round, and these guys knew Talladega ends it. If there's a round where you want a win, it is this one. not only one, but two. Anthony Daro, your winner this evening, and for the second week in a row, caught up with him down in the virtual Gatorade Victory Lane. Anthony, first off, congratulations to you. These guys have been talking, and for the most part, they said that they had absolutely nothing for the number 9 machine tonight. No doubt you had a fast car. You sweep the board on statistics, P1 in practice, you get pole, you walk away the top spot, the winner in this race. What was it about the Kansas Speedway that attracts you?
I just love riding up against that wall, and I really just focused on hitting my marks and not overdriving it, because I knew if you got any piece of that wall and the car with the fenders, how aerodynamic sensitive these cars are, that it wasn't going to be good. And that car was just, it made me look good, put it that way.
Riding up against the wall, a lot of the time we see somebody, they scrape it, they get away with it, but it's kind of a mental thing. Somebody hits the wall and they're really not driving that hard. So you really didn't have any major mistakes tonight, so that really wasn't a factor in all of that. But for riding up against the wall with guys who had tight race cars, for guys that had loose race cars, coming down to the pit lane, I guess having that fast car meant that you really didn't have to try any sort of tire strategy. You guys were able to put 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles on it every single time. But, I mean, to complete the race like that, we talk about limiting mistakes. So the car might have made you look good, but you didn't blow it either.
Yeah, I thank you for that. And it was tough. I mean, I honestly think that was more tough than racing at Darlington. Believe it or not, it's tough. It might look a little easier on the broadcast there, but it was fun though. But a lot more fun than Charlotte was last week. But that was tough.
And so with that, we go to the third race in this round 6th in this 2015 Chase for the Full Throttle Cup. It heads to Talladega. You knew coming into last week, all these guys knew coming into last week, that if there's a round you want to win in, it is this one. You got the job done. You were good. Conversation then became tonight, who is going to join you? Because in those first 3 races of the Challenger 16 round, we saw 3 different Chase drivers win. Brundys, Vincent, and Rollo. You're taking 2 so far out of 3. You thinking you might want to sweep this one? I know it's kind of hard to say, is Talladega going to fit into your style next week? Everybody's got a shot at Talladega. We know that you and your team have a lot of experience and you guys will be competitive. What is the strategy going into that race, though?
Well, the same way we went into this race. I mean, a lot of guys might have won that first race and just been riding around, just they're into the next round. But I think I could learn at every track going 100% and driving my race as I would if I wasn't locked in. And that's why I came in here, to have a good time and hopefully have a shot at a win, and we're able to pull it off. And I'm going to watch 11 guys play chess next week for sure. And Talladega is so unpredictable. You don't know when the wreck's going to happen, if it's going to happen, if it's going to be fuel mileage, you don't know. And I mean, I'm going to help my teammates. I know they had some trouble today, and that was a little bit of a letdown, but I'm going to do all I can to see if we can get them in on points or get them a win. But if there's an opportunity and I can get another win, I'm going to go for it. You can bet that.
Well, I'm sure you, much like us, we all love a good game of full contact chess, and that's exactly what we're going to see next week at Talladega. It's a sharp-looking number 9 Chevrolet. There's some nice-looking LSRTV stickers on there as well, and we greatly appreciate that, Anthony. As always, the sponsors and shout-outs. Who powers you and your entire team?
Speed 77 Radio. You do a great job at LSRTV. Race Chaser Online, Performance Motorsports Network, and Jacob. I know he wasn't on tonight, but I think he's coming back next week, and we have some special paint schemes to run next week. You guys will look forward to. And my teammates, Bossman Corbin, Mitch, Jared, and Chris. I can't thank them enough. This would not be possible without them.
Yeah, he just requested that I take a picture of the winner so he can get a press article out on Race Chaser Online, one of our partners here at LSRTV, and I'm sure he'll enjoy seeing a picture of that number 9 machine again, Anthony. Thanks for sticking around and chatting again. Congratulations to you for last week as well as this week. We wish you the best of luck into the next round, but have fun at Talladega. You'll kind of be in our seats. You'll be enjoying the action.
Thank you.
So guys, that is your race winner tonight. Again, Anthony Daro, your winner in the Kansas 188. It's race 2 of 3 in the Contender 12 round in the Chase for the Full Throttle Cup on a 2015 RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Garry Mercer Trucking. Dominant, that's a pretty good word to wrap it up, Cisco. You followed all of these guys in the pit lane. Not a whole lot of pit road strategy going on. We saw 2 tires come from Comstock, who's able to get a 9th, so he falls 7 spots with that at the end. But other than that, a lot of the stuff going down in front of you was guys beating out the right side of the car, trying to get them fixed. A lot of guys into the fence tonight. Your final thoughts on this race?
Yeah, absolutely. They broke out the hammers tonight and the duct tape. But yeah, overall, it was a good race for some, and a couple people like Thomas George and Mitch Rollo and Christopher Hurlow. They're going to have to really be up there next week. So you may want to keep it locked next week for LSR to Talladega and iRacing.com live. It's going to be one heck of a nail biter.
Brian, I kind of stole what Anthony said there and I put a twist on it. I said full contact chess. I feel like that's somewhat accurate to what we'll see next week.
Oh, it's absolutely what we're going to see next week. Talladega is the biggest wild card race of the entire chase. It's the most exciting race of the entire chase in my eyes, too. You're going to see all of these guys. You're probably going to see upwards of 40 drivers in this race. Talladega always brings a bigger field. You're going to see all of these guys with a chance to win. You're not just going to have chase contenders racing for the race victory. You're going to have your non-chasers up there racing, which is going to be even a bigger nail-biter for those guys that are trying to advance to the next round of the chase. These guys are going to have to be on their toes all race long. They can't take any major chances, especially the ones that are right on the cut line. And actually, even if you're Dwayne Vincent being several points ahead of the cut line, you can't take any chances either, because we can see how fast the points can change. We saw the ebb and flow tonight. Christopher Hurlow and Mitch Rollo, they had a good spot in the chase going into tonight. Now they're sitting 11th and 12th, and they're in a very bad position. So all these drivers are going to be very careful next week. Some of them are going to have to play it safe and hopefully stay out of the big one. And we'll see what 7 drivers are going to join Anthony DeBarro in the Eliminator 8 round.
Andy, we thought it was tight into tonight with Murray up by 3 points in 8th, and in 9th points, Rich Jett down by 3. Well, the updated chase standings are as such. The cut line right now is a tie. Eric Brundys and Rich Jett are tied with 3,066 points. So that would come down to a tiebreaker. Behind them, Jonathan Cadell in 10th. He is 7 points out, 12 points out for Hurlow, 13 points out if you're Mitch Rollo. The guys that are in, 2 points in. Greg Evans in 7th. Thomas J. George in by 7 points in 6th. You got Dan Murray in by 8 points. David Comstock is 10 points above the cut line. You have 13 points in for Jeff Ward in 3rd, and as well Dwayne Vincent 17 points above the cut line in 2nd. DeBarro already locked at the top of the standings at the moment. That's still not a lot at Talladega. Those could completely change in the matter of one turn, one lap at Talladega. It could very well be the white flag that really ends this thing.
It could be. It could be a last lap wreck that ends this thing. Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe except for that 9 of Anthony DeBarro. That's it. There's nobody safe. There's nobody remotely with I could just get a top 10. No, these guys all have to be on top of the game, on top of the wheel. Hope that they have some friends out there to help them, to give them that push. It all comes down to one race, and in a big race and a track that is so unpredictable. It's unbelievable. It's just going to be an amazing thing to watch, and you see how close the standings are at the moment. I mean, if we could have a live, as they run type of standings going as next week's race is unfolding, it would just be amazing to see how much these guys change. Just one pit stop, a speeding in the pits, you're dropping, you're out of it. Now you got to work your way back through the field. And, one slip up, like we've talked about it all night. And with some of these guys in their interviews, you're putting your fate at the hands of not only yourself, but everybody around you at the same time. These guys running too wide, and we saw some interesting racing Friday night at Talladega with some loose cars. So, I mean, it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting, and you're definitely not going to want to miss this one.
Yeah, if you want to teaser us some super speedway racing, for sure, Friday nights here on LSRTV is the place to be. But until then, and until next time, that puts this one in the books, and we move on to Talladega, Alabama. The drivers thank their sponsors. We got to thank a lot of people as well for making what we do possible. Big thanks to all the RSR partners, Garry, Mercer Trucking, iRacing.com and iRacing Live, Inside Sim Racing TV, DisabledRacers.com, Derek Spear Designs, and Race Chaser Online. Again, if you want more information, you can sign up now for the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series or the RSR Outlaw Truck Series. You can go online to RealSimRacing.com to take care of that. You can also find Real Sim Racing on Facebook. Just search that in and make sure to give them a like. You can stay up to date with everything LSRTV. Again, our website is livesimracing.com. You can also find us on social media at facebook.com/live sim racing TV. The next Full Throttle Cup Series race comes to you from Monday, October the 26th, 9:30 Eastern Time. The start of qualifying, and we'll be on the air for the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series Talladega 226, presented by Garry, Mercer Trucking. It's the Contender 12 round, race 3 of 3. 4 drivers' quest for a title will come to a close at that point. Until then, though, on behalf of the entire LSRTV team tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, Andy Kessler, Brian Macklin, Cisco Scaramuza, our in-race reporter, EJ O'Rourke, who unfortunately never really got to catch up with him, and our executive producer as well, Laura Lawson, down in the production hall, pushing the buttons and getting us on air tonight. We thank you so much for tuning in. Congratulations. Back-to-back, it's double sweet for Anthony Daro, your winner at the Kansas Speedway. We'll see you next week right here from Talladega. Good night.
Once its sights are set, nothing can stop the ferocious lion from capturing its prey. Relying on keen senses, lions search patiently before striking with alarming speed. Wait for it. Gotcha, Mr. Piece of Rubbish. He is truly the master of his environment. Do good, be a lion.